Hello, good evening. Welcome to day 6 of our Bible reading session. Yesterday we did chapters 10 to 12. Today we will read chapters 13, 14, and 15 because the chapters are very short. So I thought maybe we'll do 3 chapters today. I hope you are able to join me as well again today, and let's get right into it. Genesis chapter 13. So Abram went up from Egypt to the Negev with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abram had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. From the Negev, he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier and where he had first built an altar. There Abram called on the name of the Lord. Now Lot, who was moving about with Abram, also had flocks and herds and tents, but the land could not support them while they stayed together, for the possessions were so great that they were not able to stay together. And quarreling arose between Abram's herdsmen and the herdsmen of Lot. The Canaanites and Perizzites were also living in the land at that time. So Abram said to Lot, "Let's not have any quarreling between you and me, or between your herdsmen and mine. For we are brothers. Is not the whole land before you? Let's part company. If you go to the left, I'll go to the right. If you go to the right, I'll go to the left." Lot looked up and saw that the whole plain of the Jordan was well watered, like the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt toward Zoar. This was before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. I apologize. I remember a few chapters before I said that uh, Sodom and Gomorrah, the story about Sodom and Gomorrah would be in Exodus, but it's in Genesis itself, and I made a mistake. So Lot chose for himself the whole plain of the Jordan and set out toward the east. The two men parted company. Abram lived in the land of Canaan, while Lot lived among the cities of the plain and pitched his tents near Sodom. Now the men of Sodom were wicked and were sinning greatly against the Lord. The Lord said to Abram, after Lot had parted from him, "Lift up your eyes from where you are, and look north and south, east and west. All the land that you see I will give to you and your offspring forever. I will make your offspring like the dust of the earth, so that if anyone could count the dust, then your offspring could be counted. Go, walk through the length and breadth of the land, for I am giving it to you." So Abram moved his tents and went to live near the great trees of Mamre at Hebron, where he built an altar to the Lord. So God really blessed Abram and Lot, both the brothers, where they couldn't be in the same location together anymore because they were blessed with too many things, right? Livestock and many things. So they were really blessed, right? So ultimately they had to find two separate places to live. Chapter 4. Abram rescues Lot. At this time, Amraphel, king of Shinar, Arioch, king of Elasar, Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, and Tidal, king of Golim, went to war against Beta, king of Sodom, Birsha, king of Gomorrah, Shinab, king of Admah, Shemiber, king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar. All these latter kings joined forces in the valley of Siddim, the Salt Sea. For 12 years they had been subject to Kedorlaomer, but in the 13th year they rebelled. In the 14th year, Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him went out and defeated the Rephaites in Ashtaroth Karnaim, the Zuzites in Ham, the Emites in Shaveh, Kiriathim, and the Horites in the hill country of Zair, as far as Elparan near the desert. Then they turned back and went to En Mishpat, that is Kadesh, and they conquered the whole territory of the Amalekites, as well as the Amorites who were living in Hazazon Tamar. Then the king of Sodom, the king of Gomorrah, the king of Admah, the king of Zeboim, and the king of Bela, that is Zoar, marched out and drew up the battle lines in the valley of Siddim against Kedorlaomer, king of Elam, Tidal, king of Goim, Amraphel, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elasar. 4 kings against 5. Now the valley of Siddim was full of tar pits. And when the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of the men fell into them, and the rest fled to the hills. The 4 kings seized all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah, and all their food. Then they went away. They also carried off Abram's nephew Lot and his possessions, since he was living in Sodom. Okay, that's pretty sad. One who had escaped came and reported this to Abram, the Hebrew. Now Abram was living near the great trees of Mamre the Amorite, a brother of Eshcol and Aner, all of whom were allied with Abram. When Abram heard that his relative had been taken captive, he called out the 318 trained men born in his household and went in pursuit as far as Dan. During the night, Abram divided his men to attack him, and he routed them, pursuing them as far as Hobah, north of Damascus. He recovered all the goods and brought back his relative Lot and his possessions together with the women and the other people. After Abram returned from defeating Kedorlaomer and the kings allied with him, the king of Sodom came out to meet him in the valley of Shaveh, that is the king's valley. Then Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought out bread and wine. He was priest of God Most High, and he blessed Abram, saying, Blessed be Abram by God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and blessed be God Most High, who delivered your enemies into your hand. Then Abram gave him 1/10 of everything. The king of Sodom said to Abram, Give me the people and keep the goods for yourself. But Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have raised my hand to the Lord, God Most High, creator of heaven and earth, and have taken an oath that I will accept nothing belonging to you, not even a thread or the thong of a sandal, so that you will never be able to say, I made Abram rich. I will accept nothing but what my men have eaten, and the share that belongs to the men who went with me to Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre. Let them have their share. How humble of him to not really take any reward from the king, right? And as I was reading this, I was just remembering Abram and Lot are actually not brothers. I am really sorry again. Lot is Abram's nephew, right? But my head, I don't know, today my head, I'm really not in my right mind. I feel like even my eyes are quite blurry. I'm really not sure why. Maybe because I'm tired, I'm sleepy, but I will try to complete chapter 15 and do my best to complete chapter 15 and read properly as well as I can. Alright, so chapter 15. After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward. But Abram said, O sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir. Then the word of the Lord came to him. This man will not be your heir, but a son coming from your own blood will be your heir. He took him outside and said, Look up at the heavens and count the stars. If needed, you can count them. Then he said to him, So shall your offspring be. So when we think about how people of Israel has really spread out, right? Now Abram's descendants are millions and millions, not just, you know, one or two, right? It's millions and millions because God has promised him, and which is why Israel, I strongly believe, are truly blessed by God. Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. So Abram is one person whose faith is really strong, in the Lord, which is, which makes God really happy. He also said to him, I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to make possession of it. But Abram said, O sovereign Lord, how can I know that I will gain possession of it? So the Lord said to him, Bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Abram brought all these to him, cut them into two, and arranged the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abram drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abram fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, Know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated 400 years. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. Right? We will see this shortly after, where the Israelites worked as slaves in Egypt, right? And then ultimately being uh, driven out, or sorry, being saved by Moses, right? Another very devoted man of God. Okay, so yes, sorry, verse 14, you, however, will go to your fathers in peace and be buried at a good old age. In the fourth generation, your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not yet reached its full measure. When the sun had set and darkness had fallen, a smoking firepot with a blazing torch appeared and passed between the pieces. On that day the Lord made a covenant with Abram and said, To your descendants I give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the Euphrates, the land of the Kenites, the Kenizzites, Cadmonites, Hittites, Perizzites, Rephaites, Amorites, Canaanites, Girgashites, and Jebusites. So these were all the land that was given to the descendants of Abram by God. Really interesting. I really love, I think, so before when I was younger, I really despised reading the Bible. Um, Grew up going to church, but I felt like I really did not get the proper foundation, because one thing, I did stay in a boarding school. um, Nothing against the Catholic faith, but I did go to church, but I really didn't understand much, because one is I was very young, and another was I really did not get much exposure to reading the Bible. It was only when I came home for the holidays, being a Protestant, and also being away from home most of the year, coming home only during the holidays, Bible study was not a thing that I was really exposed to, because of the very less time frame of us getting holidays. So I really despised reading the Bible. I felt like it was so boring, but it's been recently with my struggle and everything, and finally me turning to God and finally trying to find true happiness and trying to find a true path is when I truly gave in my all. Even though I'm still struggling as a human being, I've made lots of mistakes. You know, uh, I'm still committing sins. Fine, I'm not saying major. All sins are major, but as a human, there are times that I do tend to obviously make God sad, because there are things as human beings we do tend to create, commit, which really is not pleasing to God, right? But from the time that I've really turned to God and really found peace in everything that I did, found happiness, it it just made me want to read the Bible. And I'm also doing the Bible study as well, like I said, at a separate time. But then now it's like, as I'm reading each and every chapter, the Bible is opening my eyes. God is opening my eyes to every chapter in the Bible, and it's really not boring. It's, I think, the best book that I've ever read. I'm not somebody who really likes reading novels. I like reading articles. I like reading uh, something non-fictional, but the Bible is the most interesting book so far that I've read, and I'm really enjoying my time with it. So I hope you all, whoever is watching, I hope you all will find the same, if not the same, but more or less the same type of enjoyment, like how I am finding. I'm finding each and every chapter very interesting. It feels like I'm really living in those times, and living, walking the footsteps that Abram. I felt like, as I'm reading, I feel like I'm also one of the Israelites, when during the time of Abram, during the time of Moses, and so on and so forth. So it really feels so realistic, and I feel like it really takes me back, or maybe I have lived uh, in Abram's time before. But it is really a very interesting book, and it makes me want to come back every day to read the Bible again and again, which is an amazing thing, since God has really opened my eyes. All right, so tomorrow we will continue with chapter 16, 17. I think even 18 as well, because it being a Saturday, then I have more time in my hands um, to read the Bible, right? So we will do 15, 16, and 17 tomorrow. I hope you all can join me as well, and join me in my journey as well, my walk with God, my very new walk with God. Even though I'm born a Christian, I am a Christian, have been going to church my whole life, but truly walking in faith is a totally different thing, right? So I hope you all can join me as well. Enjoy the Bible like how I am enjoying, uh, yeah. And we will see you tomorrow, and please come back and also like, share, subscribe, and share uh, the video as well. Okay, so you all have a good day, you all have a good night, and we will meet again tomorrow. Bye bye.